All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. All right. We have got a special treat for you today. Leslie Bitel here, business strategist and mentor for functional medicine practitioners. And today I'm super excited. I have a really special guest for you, Dr. Alex Keller. And Dr. Keller is a practicing naturopath in Ottawa, Canada. And he is also serving as the medical director at Fullscript. And I'm going to let Dr. Keller share a little bit more about his story here in just a few minutes. But before we jump in, I want to welcome everyone. I want to welcome those of you that are joining us live, as well as those of you that are going to be listening to the replay. Really happy to have you. Today's topic, I think you're going to absolutely love. So we are going to be talking about how to build your practice and improve care via your virtual dispensary. Okay, so this is a really cool topic. I really think it's going to be highly relevant. So let me share just a little bit about what we're going to cover specifically. So we're going to be talking about the key factors that impact supplement quality and how to ensure that your products really meet these rigorous standards. We'll be chatting a little bit about what I like to call the dark side of third-party supplement suppliers, and just a little bit about the quality and how to inspire your patients and clients to really make quality their top priority when ordering supplements. We're going to hear a little bit about the Fullscript backstory, which I think you'll find super interesting, and then more about the Fullscript tech platform, and how to set up an account, and really, at the end of the day, how this is going to help you to grow your practice and ultimately improve patient care and save time. All right, so got lots of good stuff for you in store. All right, so welcome, Dr. Keller. Alex, we'll call you Alex. How's that sound?
Please do. Hi, Leslie.
All right.
Great to be here.
Hi, it's so good to have you. Really was looking forward to our chat today. So yeah, why don't you give us a little bit of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I I don't do many presentations anymore where I get to talk about myself, so I might be a bit rusty. Yeah.
That's all right.
I'm an
It's
ND
super casual.
Oh, I know. ND by training, so a naturopathic doctor, as you said, up here in Ottawa, Canada. And I guess the relevant backstory is that I had originally intended to go into medical school, so conventional medical school. And after a 3-month internship at a hospital in rural Kenya, my whole life trajectory changed. It was a really interesting time in 2008 where there was a civil war essentially happening in Kenya that a lot of people don't know about. And there were hundreds of thousands of internally displaced people in camps all over Kenya. So when I got there, I didn't know this was happening. It somehow hadn't made it to the international news. And I arrived to a post-war scene where on the hospital grounds, we had one of these camps set up where we had several hundred people staying. And as a result of that, the hospital's medical staff, which was tiny, we had 1 doctor, 3 nurses, and a pharmacist. They decided, let's put in a 2-acre garden to help feed these people, but also to help feed the people staying in the hospital who couldn't otherwise get access to pharmaceuticals or medical care. And what they found was that they were keeping people alive much longer by feeding them a whole foods diet directly from the garden. So this was all kind of a matter of months before I got there. And I arrived into this and realized, wow, look at the impact of food in a very simple rural hospital setting. We're not even doing this in North America. We need to think about medicine differently. And so that shifted me towards naturopathic medicine, where we think more holistically and more about root cause and things like nutrition. And so when I graduated, I originally worked in a community clinic in downtown Toronto, Ontario, up here in Canada. And it was a really interesting setting because we could see 7 patients at once in a community acupuncture setting. And so you were able to provide accessible care to people who wouldn't otherwise be able to access this kind of care. Our kind of care tends to be a little exclusive and expensive because you're spending so much more time with people. So this was a great way of being able to provide that care to people who didn't have access. And that was another kind of cog in the wheel for me in that I became very driven about accessible care. So when my wife and I moved from Toronto up to Ottawa, we started a farm as well as our clinics. And the idea there was to create a system where people could come to the farm, learn about food while taking care of their health. And a few years into that, Fullscript started to get some acceleration and start to take off. We have a pretty neat tech scene up here in Ottawa, Canada. I don't know if your listeners know this, but at one point, Ottawa was considered like a smaller Silicon Valley, especially for Canada. And we had a very big tech sector here in the early 2000s. It died off a little bit when the tech bubble burst back then, but it's really come back with Shopify, which was founded here in Ottawa. So Fullscript was a fledgling startup in 2017. And at that point, they were looking for practitioners. And I saw it as a way for me to continue this journey of providing accessible care and using a tech platform to be able to reach a larger population. So I reached out to the founders who I happen to know through connection and was able to join the team. And slowly over the last 4 years, it's built up into what it is. And I've had the privilege of being able to build a medical team within it.
Oh, that's incredible. I had no idea about, the backstory in terms of the shift you made to naturopathic medicine. Incredible. And I take it your wife is also a naturopathic doctor?
She is, yeah. She's much more focused on community and smaller scale. She thinks I'm crazy for what I do, but yeah.
It sounds like a nice match.
Definitely. It's a good balance. So maybe I'll give a little bit of backstory about Fullscript as well. If
please.
You want to hear about that. Yeah.
I think that I do. I think it's super interesting. I was looking at the website and just, the transition is amazing. And it's really quite a short period of time.
It is,
right?
yeah.
That this company has exploded. So yeah, I'd love to hear the backstory. It's just such a brilliant idea. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate that. So Fullscript is actually hitting 10 years this year, but for the first 5 years or so, it was much smaller and much lesser known. In fact, it went through 2 name changes. The first was ND Storefront, which, as you can tell, wasn't really catered to anyone beyond naturopathic doctors. And then it became HealthWave. And after HealthWave, it eventually became Fullscript. And I believe that last transition happened in 2016, 2017. So small startup founded in Ottawa, Canada. The idea behind it, one of the founders, his partner, his wife is an ND. And just over dinner one night, they were discussing the fact that as she was building her practice, how annoying it was to have to deal with stocking products and working with different suppliers of products. And so he said his background was in tech. And he said to her, why don't we just create a platform where we have the catalog and you can sell the products that we carry? She said, yeah, sure. If you can figure that out, I'd absolutely use it. So his name is Brad Diamond, and his co-founder, Kyle Bratz, they got into a room and they figured out a plan. And the early version of this was super simple. They were doing it out of Kyle's apartment. And when an order would come in, they would manually receive this order, take the products that they had there in their apartment, put it into a box and ship it off. And slowly this started to really accelerate to the point where more and more practitioners realized they don't want to deal with the products in their office anymore. They would much rather have a service like this. So over the next 5 years, it slowly grew, mostly within Canada. And then eventually they broke into the US market. And that's when things really started to accelerate, because at that time, there was no other platform like this. There was no way for practitioners to write an integrative or supplement-based treatment plan electronically. There were numerous versions of this in the pharmaceutical space, and EHRs at that time already had this capability built in for pharma, but never for supplements and never for the broader integrative medicine treatment plan. So after that, the wildfire kind of started, and things have just been crazy since then.
Yeah, so definitely. I mean, just from a practitioner standpoint, huge advantage is not having to stock. Because I remember when I had my nutrition practice, it was really difficult, and it was rather uncomfortable and awkward as well. Before Fullscript, right? This was before. in terms of having to stock the supplements, kind of be that middle person, collecting money, it was just really difficult. So,
Yeah.
the Fullscript platform really solves all of these dilemmas. And there's just so many advantages. Let's talk just a little bit. I know actually in a couple of weeks, you and I are going to be getting together for an actual webinar specifically around the topic of quality, right?
Mhm.
So we're going to dive really deep into that topic then. So more to come on that. But can you just give us like a really kind of a big picture overview of some of the considerations that are important to make when it comes to ensuring that, the quality standards are met?
Absolutely. Yeah. Such a big topic in this space. And
It
it's
is.
a complicated topic, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're comparing supplements, for instance, to pharmaceuticals are much more standardized and simplistic typically in terms of this is usually one ingredient or maybe up to 3 ingredients in combination. In supplements, you can have up to 50 ingredients in certain products. And even within those, various different versions of the ingredients as well. So there's so many different angles we need to consider in the quality story with supplements. And we were actually just talking about this yesterday. Quality is something that consumers are actually becoming less concerned about, if you can believe it. I guess in the
Mm.
last 5 to 10 years, there's been
Hmm.
such a push. There's a catch to this though, so I'll get to that in a second. But there's been a big marketing push around everything quality because there's been some situations which we'll talk about in a couple of weeks of big scares where, for instance, Target or Walgreens or Walmart had an analysis done of the products that they had on their shelves, and it was revealed that in 50% or more cases that the products were not actually what they said they were. So since
Mm.
then, huge push marketing wise to ensure that people think that a product is high quality. But what does high quality actually mean? That's really the trick that people need to think about when it comes to the marketing speak that you see on a bottle. So I like to highlight 5 key areas that we consider when it
Hmm.
comes to quality, and we'll dig into those in a couple of weeks. But first of all,
Hmm.
manufacturing standards are the products manufactured in a facility that's at minimum GMP certified and ideally beyond GMP. GMP stands for good manufacturing practices.
Mm.
So every product on the market in the supplement space should follow GMP certifications, but they don't. And we'll talk about what the stats are in that case. And you can use those stats to educate your patients around the fact that even if a bottle has GMP certification or a logo on the bottle, it doesn't always mean that they're manufactured to that standard. The second is accuracy and transparency. And that's where third-party certifications come in. So you'll see often these seals on products. You see this on food, and a lot of the consumer industry nowadays has third-party certifications. You can think of kosher seal or organic seal or
Hmm.
ocean-friendly seal. All sorts of different seals now. You need to know what's in that product, and that the label again is as accurate as possible. So that's a really big one. We'll dig into that a bit more. Additional ingredients is a big factor. So I was just looking at a product yesterday that is making waves because they have extremely strong marketing within their space. But
Hmm.
then they have titanium dioxide and food coloring in their products. And you're kind
Oh
of
my
scratching
gosh.
your head thinking, why would you have to add food coloring to a
Yeah.
natural product like that? It's again, that's just something that we unnecessarily add to products in all spaces of oral consumption. And when you see that, then you have to start to question, what's the actual quality of this product? Are they using high quality ingredients if they need to
Hmm.
add color to try to get the consumer to take it? So that's a big one, additional ingredients.
Hmm.
Fourth one I ask people to look at is ethical implications. And this depends on the
Hmm.
audience. But from my perspective, and I'd say a large part of the younger consumer generation nowadays is considering environmental and community impact
Mm.
or social impact, right? So think about how these products are manufactured, where the sourcing takes place, especially with natural ingredients. Are you clear cutting a field in order to get a small percentage of that field of the ingredient that you want, or are you sustainably wild
Mm.
harvesting it, for instance? There's one brand I just spoke to, Wise Woman Herbals, who 70% of the ingredients that they use in their products are wildcrafted on the Pacific West Coast. That's a kind of statistic that I love to highlight because They work with sustainable wildcrafters in that area to wildcraft their ingredients, and as a result, not have to clear cut land or use monoculture and such, right? So there's a whole ethical background when you're talking about supplement ingredients. And then the last one is brand story. Do you resonate with the brand story? Does it make sense for you? Is the brand potentially good on the surface when it comes to marketing, but in the background, a detrimental brand in terms of what it's doing globally? That kind of ties into the ethical implications as well, but just another factor to consider. And sorry, there's one more, which may be actually the most important. Forgive me, I got it mixed up here. Research and evidence backing behind your ingredients.
Right.
There's a term in the supplement industry called fairy dusting, which you've probably heard of, and I'm assuming your users have heard of as well. When you take an ingredient that's gotten a lot of attention, like curcumin is a good one. Curcumin's a phytochemical in turmeric, the spice. Curcumin is very anti-inflammatory and has properties like anti-cancer and numerous others. However, when you look at the research, it's certain types of curcumin extracts taken at a certain dosage that have that impact. If you now add 20 milligrams of curcumin into a product, it's not going to have the same impact as the research that the marketers are using in this case. So you always have to be careful about what the ingredients are, what form they are, and what dosage they're in as well within the product. And if they're not in a usable or an efficacious dose or form, then you're not going to get the outcome out of that product that you're looking for. Sorry, that was a lot I just threw at you.
No. And for everyone that's listening, we'll go into a lot more detail around all of these considerations that impact quality. Now, all super important. The question I have is, how can we get patients to be more, cognizant of quality, right? Because obviously that's one of the big challenges is, practitioners talk about supplements and then the patient's like, oh, I'll just go get it online, right? And we really have no idea about the quality. So what are your thoughts on how to combat that?
Yeah, great point. We spend quite a bit of time thinking about this because our goal is if practitioners use our platform to recommend products to their patients, then we want the patients to stay here. And there's a lot of competition out there now in e-commerce or in retail where you can access the same or similar products. The challenge becomes, especially when you're dealing with third-party retailers, is do you have trust in how those products are handled, that they're coming from the source, that there's no counterfeiting of those products. So the supply chain is a really important one to hammer on. And I mean, going back to the 5 or 6 that we just talked about, those are important too. But again, in the supplement supply chain, there's so many potential touch points that we need to consider. And if patients aren't thinking about that, then they're either potentially going to get a product that is harmful at worst or not effective at best, potentially.
Right.
So it's a matter of hammering home some of those key points with patients so that they understand that you can't just get your products everywhere and anywhere, that you should be going directly from a reliable source.
Exactly. So a lot of education. Let's talk a little bit about Fullscript specifically and how Fullscript is such an amazing tool to help our practitioners to grow their practices and improve patient care and ultimately save time, right? So what are your thoughts around that? In terms of how Fullscript, I mean, I know this is like, we could go on and on, right? But what are your kind of top level thoughts around how Fullscript can help practitioners?
Well, so first of all, a big part of our mission is helping people get better. And a derivative of that is accessible integrative medicine. So that can be applied to practitioners or to patients. If you are in the space or entering this space, using a platform like Fullscript makes it much, much easier for you to get going right away and for you to accelerate the growth of your practice. So if you're using supplements in your practice, or even if you are not using supplements that much, but just want a way to keep connected with your patients through a wellness platform where your patients stay engaged, then Fullscript does that. It's very turnkey. It's very easy to start using it. You have access to thousands of products right off the bat. But more importantly, because we could keep adding products to our catalog. And we already have 20,000 products, and we're actually at this point
Mm-hmm.
starting to think maybe it's time we reduce that number, because a lot of our practitioners report back to us that they're overwhelmed with selection. So
Right.
the product access is not really the most important from our perspective. It's actually more what happens after the treatment plan is written. So think about this from, if you have products in your office, the kind of the original model 10 to 20 years ago, you would recommend a product to a patient, and then you would either sell it to them or you tell them to go buy it at a store if you didn't carry products yourself. What happens after that? Now there's this gap of contact until you see them again, unless you're the one doing proactive outreach. And this is the
Right.
gap that we are now filling with our platform, right? So the beauty when you use Fullscript is you write that RX, the patient receives it on their end, either through email or text message. And then from there, we take over and we send automated refill reminders depending on when the product runs out. We send bi-monthly wellness emails so that they stay engaged and they know that you're looking out for them by using a platform like this. We even now have a new program called Treatment Plus, where a portion of our CS team proactively reaches out to your patients. If you opt in, just to be clear, it's not automatic. But we
Mm-hmm.
proactively reach out to your patients to make sure that they have everything that they need, that they don't have any questions, and to check in if they're not filling your RXs, why, and be able to collect that information and give it back to you. So all of these are examples of that adherence story, which is our main focus right now. Of when you engage with a patient through Fullscript, our mission becomes keeping them adherent for you so that you don't have to do that work. And think about this now from a practice setup perspective. There's a lot of practices, well, not a lot. There's a few practices nowadays that have care coordinators, health coaches,
Mm-hmm.
nutritionists, office admin, whomever, that help with keeping the patients engaged between visits. But a lot of people can't set up a practice like that, at least not easily. So here again, when you're using a platform like Fullscript, you now have that turnkey team, if you will, of services via tech and via humans, in our case,
Mm-hmm.
that will help fill that gap for you. So I'll leave it at that, because we could go on. I can
Yeah.
maybe elaborate a little bit more
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. And I do want to just mention the really amazing customer support. So I have a little backstory on that. I'll just give you the very high level. But so my mother saw a practitioner who recommended some Fullscript supplements. And anyway, long and short is I think my mom got a little confused and she ordered a bunch of stuff that she didn't mean to order. And she
Mhm.
was like emailing me, what do I do? What do I do? I don't, I don't need all this stuff. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, I'll just reach out. We'll see what this was on a Saturday. Immediately, like that same day, support saying, don't worry, here's exactly what you do. It was great. So even on the weekend. So just really want to, commend your customer service team because, and I've heard this from other people as well. So really
Thank you.
just an amazing platform. Yeah. And yeah, I just think it's, from a tech standpoint, it's super easy for practitioners to, create different protocols, and there's sample protocols that are very helpful in terms of helping practitioners overcome that sense of, because some people do get overwhelmed. They don't even really know where to start in terms of the options. So I think what's really super helpful is that there's some samples, right, that
Mhm.
can help guide practitioners in terms of creating their own protocols. So a
Mhm.
lot of really good, it's a great platform. Guys, I did want to let you know that if you are interested in chatting with someone from Fullscript and setting up your own account, I am going to put the link here. So this is a bit.ly link. So you just type this in exactly as you see it into your browser, bit.ly/Fullscript 2021. And the nice thing about it is it's free. So it is a free platform for practitioners to use. So if you're at all curious, if you want to test it out, learn more about it, click the link and someone from Fullscript will reach out to you and get you set up. So is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of our conversation today? I know we're going to have a continuation in a couple of weeks, but any final words of wisdom that you want to add?
One thing to quickly mention too, for anyone who doesn't know Fullscript, we do offer wholesale as well. So to be clear, we don't discourage people from selling in their office. We, if anything, want Fullscript to augment what they're doing in that case. So whether you want to sell in office or you prefer not to carry products, we have a solution for both. And we just released a new feature in the last few months called On-Site RX. And what that does is allow you to write an RX for a product that you're selling in office through Fullscript. So you capture that initial sale in your office, but then the Fullscript machine kicks in thereafter, and it helps keep your patients on track and does all the other things that we just talked about on top of the fact that you just sold that product in office. So if that means they end up coming back to your office to buy the refill, fantastic. If they don't and they buy it instead directly through Fullscript, you still capture that sale. So it's a win-win in that sense, where right now we are the only platform in the space where it's all done in one place. You log in with one account, you have your wholesale account if you choose to use that, and you have your direct-to-patient account if you choose that, and they talk to each other and they integrate. The other side of this is that we integrate with EHR platforms. And by the end of the year, we'll be integrated with upwards of 20 platforms. So if we don't already integrate with the platform that you're using as a practice management platform or an EMR, whatever else, then you can also let our integrations team know of the platform that you want us to integrate with, and we can work towards building that integration. So just a couple other benefits of working with a tech
great
platform.
Yeah. Well, what's so great about that is it's just, it's the integration, just a one stop instead of having to log into all these different platforms. So that's fantastic.
Exactly.
And some people are doing, wanting to maintain a brick and mortar practice, right? So I think that's great that Fullscript does offer that, the wholesale opportunity for brick and mortar, as well as the virtual dispensary. So something for everyone, regardless of how your business is set up. All right. Well, great. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today, Alex. Really enjoyed it. Loved learning more about Fullscript, and really look forward to digging a little deeper on the topic of supplement quality here in a couple of weeks. So, again, everyone listening, everyone catching the recording, go ahead and check out Fullscript. If you're curious at all, want to kind of dip your toe and see what it's all about, type in bit.ly/Fullscript 2021. And someone from Fullscript. The thing I love is the customer support, right? As soon as you, enter your information, you will get some feedback and have someone from Fullscript reach out to you to help you get set up. So a lot of good support there. All right, everybody. This was great. Really enjoyed it. Always learn something new about Fullscript. So look forward to seeing you all next week. Same time, same place. And thanks again for your time today, Alex.
Thank you, Lesli.
Great to talk to you.
See you.
All right. Take care for now.
Take care,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye-bye.